Welcome back. We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, and it's easy to do that when the Celtics don't claim banner 18 and get to the NBA Finals. But obviously it was disappointing when they had the series at 2 games apiece. Look forward to go to Golden State, especially with an injured Steph Curry. And then Curry drops a 43 bomb on them. And the Celtics really fell apart after the first few minutes in Game 6.
Well, I'm looking at it 2 ways. I mean, they beat Brooklyn. They beat Brooklyn the way Golden State beat the Celtics. All right? And they beat Brooklyn. Great series against Milwaukee. Great series against Miami. Up 2-1, and then they just lost the edge. And we saw Tatum, and Brown and Smart turned the ball over way too many times. And then the bench, there was no bench.
Yeah, it takes a lot of things to win a championship. Your stars have to come through. You need depth. As you say, the bench was like minus 60-something in the Game 6. And, of course, you need health. Robert Williams wasn't at full health, but, boy, he'd be a monster if he can stay healthy and get more minutes.
Yeah, and then, people are knocking Tatum, saying he made the first team this year, and they're knocking him, saying that he's not a superstar. He's a star, but not a superstar. Well, what about the first 3 series? It was a lot of fun for me watching them. A lot of fun for the younger kids. What luckily been able to go through over the years with the Patriots, the Celtics, with the Red Sox, Yankees. For me, we've had a lot of fun, and you see now with the younger kids, like my grandkids, watching the Celtics being up for every game, falling asleep at halftime because of the time. But all the younger kids now are into it big time, and they were an awful lot of fun. So I'm looking at it and say, why should I get on Tatum? He lost the edge mentally and he lost the edge physically. He hit the wall. It's as simple as that. That's the way I'm going to look at it. I'm not going to knock Tatum.
Well, I think the other thing is, if you look at the differential in minutes played over the course of the season, they said Tatum played over 700 more minutes than Curry did over the course of the year. So it's a long season. They play over 100 games, and when you think about the playoffs, so many of those games were tightly contested. So it's draining. So that being able to sustain high effort against championship level competition is really tough. There's a coach in Canada, Dave Smart, from Carleton College, who's won, I want to say something like 15 Canadian championships. And he says, the key is to be able to play harder and longer than the other team. And he says it's really tough. To be able to do that even one time is a big deal, but to be able to do it over a sustained period like the NBA playoffs is really hard. And Golden State had the experience edge.
Oh, yeah, and then you have Curry, right? That game he scored 43. What was Udoka thinking about? What was he thinking about? Horford, you play off him, right? So he's coming off the pick, stepping into a three-point shot constantly, and they're not making that adjustment of either taking Horford out of the game or bringing him up closer, and attacking the pick. So he was just stepping into a shot. And when he gets going, forget about it.
Well, and the guy that killed him that nobody expected as much from was Wiggins.
Yeah, Wiggins.
He was everywhere.
Yeah, but Ron, the thing with Wiggins is they said he outplayed Tatum, but every time Tatum got the ball, there were 3 guys standing there. Now, Tatum's biggest fault in that series was he didn't take enough three-pointers. What happened to the three-pointer? Because they were playing off him. They were off a step. They were waiting for his drive. If he drove, they were doing the same thing Miami did. They got it from Miami.
Well, one of the things that really hurt was in previous series, Derek White overachieved, had some success shooting threes, and in the finals,
he was a disaster.
Couldn't throw it in the ocean.
Well, look at the difference. Tatum's got Smart, all right? He's got White. Pritchard didn't play well, so Horford. So Golden State, they're saying, let them take the three-point shot, those people. most likely they're not going to hit him consistently like we will, the shooting they had. So that's what happened in that game. What's Tatum supposed to do when Smart's missing threes? Pritchard, who I love, is missing threes. White is absolutely horrible. Well, and I don't know why when he's in the game with Pritchard, they let White bring the ball up.
Well, another thing that was a big factor was I noticed they often didn't get into the offense till there's 11 seconds left on the clock.
They're walking the ball up.
Right. So then, all right, so Golden State knows they're going to try to penetrate. They double the drive, and then there's somebody looking to pick off the pass when they drive and kick. So, and unfortunately, a lot of those passes were deflected or just bad passes.
Well, Udoka's a pretty good defensive coach. Well, I mean, they made it to the finals.
Right.
But offensively, he's not that good. He's almost like Stevens was. Go one-on-one. You know, Tatum was passing the ball more than Brown. Did you know one time Brown had as many turnovers as he had in assists? It was like 70 to 70, 70-something to 70-something. At least Tatum was 2-1. Even though he threw the ball away a lot, lost the ball. He was 2-1 on assists to turnovers. Brown was 1-1 just about.
Well, they compared the NBA final statistics, the first finals, LeBron versus Tatum, and they were pretty much right on track as far as assists, rebounds, points. So it's just winning is hard. That's what makes it valuable. That's why we care so much. And we had nothing to complain about. The Golden State was the superior team, and it's going to be a hard road to hoe to get back to the finals because Milwaukee's going to have Middleton back. Miami's going to have Harrow back. The Nets will have Ben Simmons. So it's not going to get easier next season. Now, there are things that the Celtics can look forward to. They've got a couple of big trade exceptions. One is $6.6 million, so that might bring in another guard. And then they have a $17 million one that they could get maybe a better wing or a big for. They don't have a first-round draft choice because of trades.
Because of that White trade.
Yeah. And, of course, the biggest thing is Golden State was $89 million over the salary cap. So they were paying a heavy luxury tax, and their ownership basically says, yeah, we're going to keep paying that luxury tax. And the Celtics, they didn't think they were going to be at that level, so they didn't invest to that extent. We'll see what they do this year.
Who do you think's a better ball player, White or Richardson? I thought Richardson was a way better offensive player.
He's a better shooter, better offensive player. White's a good player. We'll see how it goes when he has a full season with training camp, and obviously these guys work out over the summer and have something to work on in their game. I mean, if you're a player like White, you say, what do I have to work on? I have to work on my three-point shooting. I mean, here's a guy who didn't have a D1 scholarship coming out of high school. I mean, so he's only 27 years old, I think. So.
And plus Williams, Robert Williams, he's young. He's getting better and better. I would tell him to work on his game from 12 feet out in, penetrating to the basket, pull-up jump shots. He's a very good foul shooter.
He was outstanding in free throws. He must have shot over 90%.
He's very good. So he's got a pretty good touch. So they should get him more involved in the offense. And I think Udoka's got to be thinking about, we got to set more picks and run plays. They're not running plays. They're running sets.
Right.
Stop running plays. Tatum's having a tough time. Let him come off a pick where he's going to be 1-on-1 with another player. Not dribble off the pick. Without the ball, let him come off picks. Run plays for him. Maybe even a double pick. Get him the ball. You saw what he did with Miami in that inbounds play with Butler on him. That big jump shot he made, the fall away, where he faked going right. That's because he had plenty of room there because it was an inbounds play. Well, let him come off a pick. More picks. Run the picks. More of an offensive flow than one guy dribbling the ball up. They set that high pick. Tatum comes off it. Pass, then he comes off and he gets the ball back. Now he's up top again, and there's three people waiting for him. So they got to get away from all that stuff. They need a point guard other than Smart. Smart is not a good point guard. If you're going to get the best out of Tatum in those type of games, you cannot have Tatum and Brown bringing the ball up and running off picks because they're just going to converge on him. They're going to attack the pick, which the Celtics don't do most of the time. They lack off of it and especially with Horford.
Well, there's talk about Goran Dragic, who could get you into an offense.
Oh, I love to see him on
but
the
he's
Celtics.
he's old. I mean,
Yeah.
he's really
But
old
still,
now.
you talk about him in that series, someone like him.
Right, and then from the developmental side, it's easy to say, well, they didn't trust Neesmith. Well, the answer was you didn't trust him because he wasn't trustworthy. Although he's a pretty good defensive player.
And he's a
and
good athlete.
Rebounder. He's
But
scrappy.
Udoka doesn't play him.
Well,
I mean, look at Pritchard. He hardly even played him.
you can't. I mean, Neesmith became labeled as a shooter, but Pritchard outshot him. Except in the finals, he sort of went in the tank. And it's hard. He didn't have very many minutes, but he didn't get it done either.
All right. Conley's older, right, than Smart. Who would you rather have a point guard, Conley or Smart?
Oh, Conley, but he's making like $30 million already.
20-something now, isn't he? He's on his other contract.
I don't know. I don't know if they can afford him. I don't really understand the whole salary cap and then luxury tax beyond that. So,
But they got to get a point guard who can break down the defense, move the ball up court, and then make it easier for Tatum and Brown, especially in the big playoff games. But again, they made it to the finals. They were up 2-1, and they hit the wall. I mean, that's the way I'm going to look at it. I thought they had a great chance of getting number 18, but it didn't work out for them. So people can't get upset. I mean, too many people are knocking. Are you kidding me? How did they make it to the finals? Because of Tatum, mostly.
yeah, it's awfully easy for us to say, well, they didn't get it done. Well, Golden State is the reason they didn't get it done. You have to give credit to the other team, their coaching staff, their experience. And
they were a different type team than the Celtics. Curry made it easier for Wiggins. Wiggins was always one-on-one, hit those jump shots from the foul line, wide open threes at time. Tatum, he always had pressure on him. So when they say Wiggins outplayed Tatum, I mean, look at the pressure Tatum was under compared to Wiggins, where Curry was the big man. And they were keen on Curry and Thompson from the three-point line. And then when Poole got in there, another great three-point shooter. So that whole setup was entirely different. Imagine Tatum on Golden State and Curry on the Celtics. It would make it a lot easier for the Celtics because Curry would be penetrating. He's so smart. But Tatum on that team, Golden State will win it.
right. The other thing is with certain players like Thompson, you can't let them catch and shoot.
No.
You got to make them put it on the floor. So, it's a great season for the Celtics, a great season to be a Celtics fan, but
Next 10 years, 10 years, if they make a couple of good moves, could be a lot of fun.
if every season they get to the finals, I don't think we'll complain, except for the fact that the game starts so late, so that means you're staying up till midnight every night.
All these young kids that love it now, and they're falling asleep in the first half. That's a shame, especially on the weekends.
Well, you have to do what we do, take a nap.
That's what I used to do when the Celtics played the Lakers. My mother said, you have to go to bed at 8 when I was their age. Went to bed at 8, and she'd wake us up at 11. The games would start at 11:30, in L.A., when they were playing L.A. all those years.
We'll be right back.